I got into alcohol and weed when I was like 15, and I got into cocaine when I was 16. And when I got into cocaine, that was it. This is my favorite thing I'd ever experienced in my life, and I did it like almost every day from like 16 to 19. I just
Jesus.
Full-time coke addict, dude. Just, a little child on cocaine. A lot of that.
And does that mean that you were a small-time crook? How are you getting your hands on the money to support this cocaine habit?
I was stealing from my mom. It's not like I wasn't like a little Scorsese character, I wasn't like running a coke business and, cheating on a little wife or anything. Like I was stealing from my mother. It was just horrible, I've forgiven myself through a lot of work, but because I was also a child, not that that fully excuses it, but like, my parents had divorced, and my mom, I was living with my mom, and she was a lot like me. She's a hilarious woman, but she struggled with mental illness and stuff, and she was on a lot of meds, and it was kind of a mess, and it allowed me to have just this house that I used, because she was like, I was the man of the house, I was like the only male figure in the house. It was just me and her, and she didn't really do much. She was being kind of financially supported by my dad, and she was doing her best, man, but she struggled hard. Like she had hard struggles mentally, and was on a lot of meds, and she had, at least was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and it's a weird one. It's like, especially back then, like late 90s, early aughts, just didn't have any idea what it was really, and all these Lyme doctors were known as kooks, and were getting taken out of practice for like misdiagnosis and stuff. And so I don't fully know if my mom had Lyme disease. It may have just been a mix of mental illnesses. But she was on all kinds of like pills, and the ones that brought her up in the morning and put her down at night, and antipsychotics, and experimental ones for Lyme disease, and she did her best, man, but her best was pretty rough, and I wasn't really parented after the divorce. I just was kind of in this lawless house, and my mom would, take sleeping pills at night. She'd be out cold, like zero, like nothing would wake her up, and so I would have these huge ragers at my house. I was this kid in high school trying to find an identity, and the one that I found was the host of parties. And so my nickname in high school was Gooch, which is a story for another time. But everybody would go to Gooch's house, man. Yeah, teachers call me Gooch, parents call me Gooch. That is, of course, the part between the balls and the ass crack, just for listeners that don't know. And I would throw these parties, and that became my identity. I was an animal, and I'd have keggers on a Wednesday, cocaine on a Tuesday, on my roof, just doing cocaine, just 6 days a week we'd have house parties, and the cops would be called. They'd come over, there'd be cars all through the street, and they'd just tell me, hey, we're getting noise complaints and your cars are on the street. If you can just get the cars in the driveway, we'll leave you alone. There's this weird agreement that I had with the cops. I don't know why. And
sounds like you were the mayor.
Yeah. It was like I was Capone in this little town.
You call all the shots.
Yeah. For no reason. I don't know why they were giving me any respect whatsoever, but they can only take so much, because my neighbors would call all the time, rightfully so. I was a nuisance. And so when I turned 18, there was like a big party on St. Patrick's Day, and there was a fight. Some guys from another school came, and they wouldn't buy a Solo cup that my buddy was like distributing to people for $5 for like unlimited drinks, and they said something about me, and my buddy hit him, and then everybody started hitting each other, and this giant brawl happened, and like my door got knocked off the hinges, and the fight went into the street and onto my lawn. And sometimes I'd go sleep it off at my dad's place. I was living two lives. I was going to my dad's and pretending to be a normal person, and then just raging at my mom's. And I was sleeping it off at my dad's, and I got a call, and it was like, "Hey, Evan, this is the Asheboro Police Department. We're in your house. There was no door, so we didn't really have to knock. And your mom let us in as well."
And the Jehovah's Witnesses were like, "We can just go in?"
Yeah. Can I have a second of your time
Jackpot.
when you're done with that cocaine? That is one person that would talk to a Jehovah's Witness. Give them a little bit of cocaine, like, "Dude, tell me about your vision, man. Like, what's going on? Like, what's coming for all of us, bro? Really? The end? Paradise? That sounds good, man. Do you want some of this?"
Or like, you can see eternal life now.
Yeah. So they were like, "Look, we found some interesting stuff in your house. We'd like for you to come down to the station and talk about it." And so they arrested me, and they didn't charge me with cocaine. They found a little bit, but they let it slide. It was just like residue. And they were like, "If we ever get a call again, we're gonna pull this back out and charge you with a felony." But I just got some misdemeanors, like on my record it said 4 counts of stolen property, but it was just street signs. Like kids always had like street signs and stuff. It sounds badass, but it's so lame.
I had one of those. Sure.
Yeah, dude. And then some like paraphernalia and like marijuana charges. But that was the first little consequence, But even then, it didn't hurt. It wasn't like a big consequence. And I totaled 5 cars. It sounds insane.
Once again, you got me beat. I totaled 2 within 6 months of getting my license. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But 5, goddamn.
One of
That's
them was
impressive.
a deer. Yeah, and one of them was someone else's fault. But, I mean, one of them was insane. Like, I think it's the craziest moment of my life. Like, I look at that guy, and I'm like, that is the craziest Evan right there. Like, I was up for, like, 50 hours, that's when you get weird. That's when you're seeing stuff. And I went to my coke dealer's house, and I got some more at like 7 a.m. or whatever, and 8 a.m., and my coke dealer was always like, he was like trying to save me money, which is, it's insane. Like, the coke dealers don't do that. But he was just like, "Evan, you come here and you get a gram, which is $50. But we both know you're going to run out of that, and you're going to come back here in 2 hours and get another gram, which is another $50. And then you're going to run out of that, and you're going to come back an hour later, because you just ramp up the more you do it. And you're going to spend another $50. That's $150 for 3 grams, when I could give you 3.5 grams right now as an 8-ball for $120. He was like trying to save me money. But I was such an addict. I was like, "No, I just want one." Like, every time I just bought a gram at a time. That's how delusional I was. I was like, I'm only going to do 1 gram today. And then I was like, all right, I'm only going to do 1 more gram today. I'm only going to do 1 more gram today. 1 more gram, 1 more. I never bought more than a gram. I would just stop at my dealer's house for 3 years. Every 4 hours, I would just stop at my dealer's house and get a gram. And I would sometimes steal from my mother. I would sometimes there's no way this can be funny. I have to say it to remember who I am and why I need to stay sober. I would steal my mother's meds and, her Xanax and stuff, because my dealer liked Xanax a lot. And I would trade him for cocaine. Or I would take my mom's credit card, and I couldn't get money from the credit card, so I would go to a GameStop and I'd buy a PS2, because that's how old I am. And I'd buy a used PS2, and then I'd bring it to the other GameStop in town, and I would sell it to them. And so I would cut the price in half right away. I'd spend $150, and I'd bring it across town and make $70 cash, and then go buy like a 1.5 grams. So, and I literally think I was just like moving a PS2 back and forth between GameStops at one point, you know what I mean? And And so one day at like 8 a.m., I was over at his place, and then I left his place, and I was on the phone with my dad, probably asking for money or who knows. And I was at a stop sign. I was going to take a left, and this woman she had a right turn signal on, so it looked like she was going to take a right. So it looked like I could pull out as she took her right. And you're supposed to wait until they pass before you commit to your turn. You're supposed to wait till they commit to your turn before you pull out. And I didn't. I pulled out, and she T-boned me like really hard. And my dad was on the phone, so he just heard like, he just like heard the wreck. And I like crawl out of my window because my door's caved in, my window's busted. I crawl out of my window. I pick up the phone. I'm like, Dad, I got into an accident. I told him the intersection I was at. And the woman was like, I'm having a heart attack. And so like I ran into her car. I don't think she was having a heart attack, but she was like, I need my medicine. And she pointed to her glove compartment, and I opened her glove compartment, and there was like this pill bottle with like this kind of like chunky white stuff. I just took like a lump of it out, and she told me to put it on her tongue. I've been told that's actually a thing. It's not like a illegal drug. I forget what it is, but there's like some sort of heart condition, and there's this thing you take that calms you down. I don't know. It was just really surreal. It was like a nightmare. And before you know it, there was like an off-duty police officer that was driving by. So she's out of the car, and she's talking to us, and she tells me to get out of the car, and she takes care of the woman. I am bleeding from my nose, but it's not from the airbag. It's from all the coke. And I've got sunglasses on. Thank God it's daytime, because, I mean, my pupils are so dilated you can't see what color my eyes are. And there's an ambulance, there's a fire truck, there's a sheriff now, and my dad. And I just remember, and then my drug dealer drives by, and I give him a high five and slip him the bag of coke so that I don't have any coke on me, And I can snap back into that body anytime. And it might be why I'm sober for 14 years, is because I don't forget that feeling of just being like, who the fuck are you, dude? Like, you were a brilliant kid. You were like so funny and loving and optimistic, and like you lit people up, and you are currently 130 pounds, not in college. You don't have a job. You're just stealing from people that love you, because you know that if you steal from people that love you, they still have to love you tomorrow. You're not stealing from friends, because you'd lose them. And you're surrounded by every kind of siren that exists, and your dad, and you're bleeding from your nose. And like, I just, it was insane. It was insanity. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. To me, that's my definition of insanity. Just that image of me, man. And so that was probably my craziest wreck.